Good evening, everybody. Yes. You're in for a night of great music. Tonight, you're here to see Dakota Dave Hull. For those that you don't know Dakota Dave Hull, he's a veteran of this business. He's been around. I first heard of him in probably 1978 or 9. He plays, if you like American music of any genre, you'll probably hear it tonight. In many styles on the guitar, banjo, I see. He calls his music classic American guitar. And I think that sums it up pretty well. So let's have a big round of applause for Dakota Dave Hull.
Thank you. Boy, it's good to be here. I've been wanting to come back to St. Louis in the worst way. I drove. Thank you. That was an Ellington tune, believe it or not, Beginning to See the Light. One of my favorites. I like them all. Damn thing was in tune when I bought it. I'll tell you, normally when I'm sitting around at home playing, I don't bother with this, but you're a quality crowd. So. Technology is a wonderful thing. It's worth it, I promise. Thank you. That was an original called Clay County. This is a national guitar. Pretty cool. Back in the late 1920s, these four brothers that came from Slovakia, it was a time when people were trying to come up with louder musical instruments because it was before microphones. And they came up with these. They had seen some European violins that had a resonator and horn on them, and that's where they got the idea of the Stroh violin. And they came up with these, and inside here, under the hood, there are three little spun aluminum resonators that are like a speaker almost, and that's the soundboard of these things. And they really sound really cool, like nothing else. And they kind of took the Hawaiian music world by storm, and some of the blues guys played them. The folks that they had wanted to attract with them, which was the guitar players in the big jazz bands, just really didn't take to them for whatever reason. But they sold a lot of guitars, and over the next 10 years or so, until the late 30s, when the electric guitar came out, and then it sort of dwindled away. In the late 1980s, a couple of guys saw some of these things and said, boy, somebody should be making those. They're really cool. So they started again, and they're still in business, the National Resophonic Guitar Company. This is one of theirs. It's a guitar that was made in the year 2000, and they're so good that I had an old one. I don't anymore, because this one's actually a better instrument. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. Thank you. That's one of those wonderful pop tunes from the 40s, You Belong to Me. Always been a favorite of mine. Well, I can't imagine doing a night of music without playing at least one Charlie Poole tune. This tune was released like a few days before the great stock market crash of 1929. It's called Movin' Day. If you can't pay the rent, you gotta live in a tent, 'cause it's moving day. Don't think anybody noticed. Moving Day. Well, about that same time, a couple years later, there's a piccolo guitar. Pretty cool. They didn't make these in the old days. And anyway, a couple years after that tune was recorded, this tune got real popular as well, another sort of depression tune. Brother, can you spare a dime? I'm going to just, in keeping with this sort of political nature of this stuff, I think I'll do a couple more. This is a Woody Guthrie tune that it's maybe one, well, it's one of my favorites of his tunes called Pastures of Plenty. I just love this tune. Thank you. I'm going to get out the other extreme now. This is a baritone guitar. That's not a baritone guitar. This is a baritone guitar. How low can you go? I'm a huge Stephen Foster fan. I think this is his greatest song. Hard Times. Thank you. I learned that off of one of my albums. I have a few thousand of them with me here. If I sell enough of them, my little brother can get his operation. There's a little drive I like to take heading north from where I live. I live in the Twin Cities, and we like to head up to Duluth, which is right on the tip of Lake Superior, Duluth, Minnesota, Superior, Wisconsin. And it's kind of a boring drive, but then you get to this hill and you get to the top of it, and all of a sudden you see the big lake with, in the summer, there are big ships, and you see the city on the side of the hill, and you see some wetlands and the other city over there. And it's really kind of a all at once vista that comes up in like a nanosecond. It's really, really a cool thing. So this is a ragtime piece in the sort of the classic ragtime style, the 4-part style, called the Twin Ports Rag, and it's kind of about the nanosecond when you see all that stuff. Thank you. Well, I'll do a couple more originals for you this set. Every fall, we like to go on what we call a leaf drive. Try to go when the trees are changing and the colors are at their peak. And if you're lucky, it's a cloudy day, so the colors just pop out. And it's really kind of an inspiration and kind of a tradition. And so I wrote a little tune that I call the Leaf Drive Waltz. Thank you. Well, I think what I'm going to do is, would you like to hear one more of those ragtime pieces? This is a guitar banjo. It kind of takes the worst attributes of both instruments and puts them together into, well, it's kind of an abomination, actually. No, they're actually a pretty cool thing. This was made by the Bacon and Day Company back in 1929 or something like that. So it's got some history, and they are an amazing thing. Papa Charlie Jackson played guitar banjo, and Johnny Sincere, a couple of the old guys, and I just think they're a lot of fun. Kind of getting into these is what I did during the pandemic. Had to do something, right? Anyway, last summer, my dear friend Butch Thompson, the jazz piano, ragtime piano player, left the stage, and it's kind of a, well, it was pretty rough. It's hard to lose any friend, but somebody that's a phenomenal artist like he was too, it's even harder. When he was first starting out, he had another nickname called Kid Shirt Thompson, and he was playing with a trad New Orleans band, and he was still very young. He was like 18 years old, and he didn't know how to iron a shirt, and so he'd, before the gigs, he'd go buy a new shirt. I understand. So I call this one Kid Shirt, and it's for Butch. Thank you. Well, I think what I'm going to do is one more and then take a little break, and then I'll come back and do another set of entirely different material. Professional show. This is a good old wonderful tune, Jelly Roll Morton tune. Another one of my favorites. There was a New Orleans trumpet player in the 1890s, maybe into the 1900s, named Buddy Bolden, who apparently was the best musician anybody there had ever heard. And unfortunately, his timeline was, he didn't record, or at least not that we know of. And nothing ever was found. So Morton wrote this little thing called Buddy Bolden's Blues, and it was based on a tune that Bolden played. So it's kind of credited to both those guys. Buddy Bolden's Blues. Thank you. Let's take a few minutes, have some refreshments.
So if you put your hands together, I think Dave will start playing again.
Thank you. Thank you, Dave. Appreciate it. I'm going to sit right down and write myself a letter, another great old one. I love that stuff. I think I'll do another ragtime piece. I've been really, really fortunate throughout my professional life to know some really, really phenomenal musicians, people that influenced me a lot. I was pretty close friends with the late Dave Van Ronk, and Dave is really the guy that got me going on ragtime, on the guitar, classic ragtime. He wrote a tune called the Antelope Rag, and of course I was familiar with Joplin and some of the Joseph Lamb and some of the other early ragtime people on the piano, but I didn't really ever think about it much as a vehicle for the guitar until I learned that tune of Dave's, the Antelope Rag, and it just sort of turned my life around. So I wrote this tune in honor of Dave. He lived on Sheridan Square in New York City the whole time I knew him, last 20-some years of his life. And now a part of that, a couple blocks long of that, is Dave Van Ronk Street. You know, not everybody gets that kind of honor in New York City, I'll tell you. Anyway, this is called the Sheridan Square Rag. Thank you. Let's see here. Get out the old baritone guitar again. How low can you go? I like it. Takes a licking and keeps on ticking. That was the Deep Ellum Blues. Deep Ellum was a part of Dallas, Texas, back in Prohibition times. That was where you went if you wanted to get a drink or hang out with loose women or, smoke some opium, all of that stuff. If you go down to Deep Ellum to have a little fun, have your $15 ready when that policeman comes. Yeah. Another friend of mine that's gone, actually the same year that Dave died, was Dave Ray, Snaker Dave Ray. Kerner Ray and Glover, and they were homies to me, in the Twin Cities. Dave was a great guy. They recorded, really they were among the first young guys to really embrace traditional African American music. They recorded blues, rags, and hollers, which really it changed everything in the great folk scare and the revival. And then, of course, they followed it up with lots more blues, rags, and hollers. I don't know who was doing their titles in those days, but they were on Elektra Records, and they decided that Dave would do a solo album, and they called it Snakers here because Snaker was his nickname. Otherwise it wouldn't have made very much sense. Anyway, when he died, we this tune just sort of came wafting into what's left of my brain. I call it "Snaker's Gone." Thank you. Well, another guy that I was really fortunate to be able to do a couple of gigs with along the way and record with was Doc Watson. High point in my career. Anyway, this is a tune that his son Merle Watson and Doc wrote, a long time ago, probably in the 60s, maybe the early 70s, called Southbound. And normally I like to play this song in the wintertime, but this year there's no point. Thank you. Stay there. Ah, this thing again. This is a medley of a couple of tunes that everybody's heard. One is Old Joe Clark, which is a staple in the old-timey music repertoire, and the other one is When I Was a Cowboy, which I heard Leadbelly playing, I think, first, and at least one of his recordings, he played it on the accordion. Who knew? Anyway, a friend of mine, Eric Schoenberg, had worked out the Old Joe Clark in the key of F sharp, and it lays out pretty cool. Well, it turns out that When I Was a Cowboy does too. So let's give it a try. Close enough for this stuff. You want to hear one more rag? Yeah. All right. A lot of these are for people who've left us. Really great singer and dear friend of mine by the name of Maureen McKeldery. She was not known outside of the Twin Cities area, but she was great, lovely human being, and a fabulous cook. So this is McKeldery's rag. Thank you. Well, let's see here. I think I will do another waltz. I know there's somebody here that likes waltzes. And I do too. This is called the Petite Waltz. Thank you. Well, it looks like I got time for a couple more. This is a different sort of rag. This is, ragtime is one of those words that means several different things. After the classic ragtime era, the syncopation sort of made its way to Tin Pan Alley, and the form was shortened to 2 or 3 parts, and it still had the syncopation and generally got faster. Stuff like Alexander's Ragtime Band were written, and it's all good. This is one that I've always associated with Maybelle Carter, called the Victory Rag. And it's long been one of my favorites. I've been doing this tune for at least 50 years. So, the Victory Rag. done with mirrors. The victory rag. Well, I'll leave you with this one. A number of years ago, I was finishing up a tour on the West Coast, and I left the San Francisco Bay Area early one morning in a drizzling rain, and started driving home. It takes about 4 days to drive from the Bay Area to the Twin Cities. Used to take 3. Probably it takes 5 now. I haven't done it in a while. But if you've never done a long cross-country drive like that, I highly recommend it as something to do. It's just an amazing experience, not only the way the land changes and so forth, but also the way the culture changes. I love doing those trips. So anyway, this I made it. I was probably right on the California-Nevada border, and this tune started to get into my head, and by the time I stopped for the night on the other side of Nevada, I pretty well had it in my mind, at least. I still had to learn how to play it, but so I call it The Long Drive Home. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Ah.